Hey everyone, welcome to Indie Game Arcade, a podcast all about indie games. In this episode, we're talking about FlyKnight. My name is Chris.
I'm Joseph.
If you were in the FlyKnight universe, what kind of bug do you think you would want to be?
What I want to be? Probably one of the wasp or hornets or whatever they are, because they have super cool armor. They're like samurais, and they're very tough. Cool. So I think that would probably be my choice.
I didn't really get to play it. All I got to do, because I ran out of time, well, I explained yesterday, we ended up having to take my daughter to the ER because she tried to ride our dog and the dog wasn't having it. So she fell off the dog and busted her lip. So we had to take her to the ER, which I was going to play some FlyKnight yesterday. But that, surprisingly, going to the ER takes up pretty much the majority of your day these days. So
I blame video games for this. She saw you jump on too many mounts over the years, and now she just assumes the dog is one.
Exactly. She's just like, I can make Ayla. What are those cats from Warcraft? The Dark Sabers or something, or Night Sabers? Oh yeah,
I was thinking more of a chocobo or something. From
chocobos.
Final Fantasy.
It's pretty good. Pretty good. So anyway, I didn't get to play it. But I read a bunch of interviews with the dev. Read a bunch of articles about it. So I don't know like all the bugs that are in it, but like, is there a Hercules beetle in there? If not, I would love to be a Hercules beetle in there.
There's not a Hercules beetle per se, but there is an armor set that looks like one? A Hercules beetle. Yeah, okay. A very heavy armor set. There's a lot of cool armor sets in that game. There's one of the coolest ones that you might like is like the roly-poly, because they are like martial artists and they'll roll up to you. They'll hurt you as they roll up, first of all. If they're really far away and they want to reach you, they will just do like a flying jump kick at you. And then if they get super close to you, they're just going to start pummeling you with punches. It's really cool.
There's always a distinct difference between like what I would want to be and like with my luck, what I would be born as into this world. So would I want to be a Hercules beetle? Yes. What would I be born as? Probably a dung beetle. I'd probably be just hauling around a big pile of dookie. So
yeah, or you'd be just one of those little grubs that are on the ground that die in one hit and really don't do much. Yeah,
exactly. Game start. Let's jump full force into this. I know we talked about it a little bit last week, but we're going to dive like face first into this whole game and in a deeper dive. So FlyKnight was released January 31st, 2025, developed by Wababoy. I don't know if is he related to Wobbuffet? Maybe they're cousins. I don't know.
Could be.
$5.99. You can't really beat that price point. That's pretty cheap, man. That's like as cheap as you can get for a good game like this. And for a little bit of a description, just to kind of set you guys up with what the heck is this game? What is FlyKnight? This is a first-person Souls-like in a bug kingdom, if you haven't figured that out already, that was cursed by the Luna Moth, who stole everyone's wings, except for, I think, one. I think there's one guy that still has his wings. Anyway, you play as a fly squire, who's the sole survivor of a rebellion against the Luna Moth. And just for like a little bit of background on the development of this game itself, I thought this was just kind of some interesting stuff, so I wanted to bring this up. So this was originally created as a game jam about like a year ago, but in like much shorter form. So like what we're playing right now isn't like the game jam form. The original was a lot shorter. It was made in like a 2-week time span. And it just took off because it got a lot of really positive feedback. So Wababoy decided to flesh it out a little bit more, extending that like half-hour playtime to what is now probably about like 3 hours or so, depending on how you play. And I know that they've wanted to do more, but they've been in the middle of working on this other longer project called Sorceress. So it's like, you know, they want to do more with FlyKnight, but it was kind of like they weren't planning on it, you know, even making this from the get-go. They only did it because that game jam did so well. So they're like, okay, fine, I'll do it. I'll make some more with
positive feedback on that.
Yeah, exactly. But I just think that that's such a fascinating thing. And I love seeing game jam games. Like I love seeing games develop out of that, because I think that you get some really creative stuff out of a game jam. Like, because you get that, you know, that small time limit most of the time with a game jam. Being put in a little like kind of creative box, or just, you know, a box with limitations. I mean, breeds creativity because of the limitations. So seeing something like this come out of that, I mean, just kind of like really hammers that point home. So very, very cool.
Yeah, this is basically, I want to make sure that, I guess the gameplay is, it's most reflective of FromSoft's original like Souls-like game, Kingsfield, because it is first person. You're not dodge rolling or anything. You're just blocking, parrying, etc. And you are, so it's kind of if you think of a combo of like a Souls-like mechanics with something like Skyrim or whatever would be like the closest, probably easiest comparison, because I doubt a lot of people have played Kingsfield, but it is much more like that as far as the combat goes. So even if you think like, oh man, like Dark Souls games are too hard for me, I can't keep track of everything, this one's a lot more straightforward. Not that it doesn't have its like challenging sections, it definitely does, but I think it's a lot more approachable.
Sure. Would you say like comparatively, is this easier than Kingsfield, or can you even make that distinction?
Yeah, for sure. Because like Kingsfield has the, I mean, it's one of those that I wouldn't say it's aged well, just because it was like a sort of a novel concept at the time. I don't even know when Kingsfield came out. 94. I just looked it up. That is crazy. Wow. Okay, so obviously like that was kind of a fresh thing. They didn't know exactly. So it's like the mechanics weren't really like fleshed out entirely. They were just kind of like experimenting. And so, yeah, this is going to be much easier and much more user friendly than Kingsfield is. So even if like you have played Kingsfield, you're like, I'll never play a game like that again. Try this one, because I promise it's like much better, or a much smoother process. And what I really appreciate about this game, you're right, because I had only played a little bit of it as far as last episode goes. And then last night I was like, I should probably play a little bit more of this before I come in and review it. And I beat it last night, because it literally is only like 3 hours or so. I didn't think I was about to beat it, because it just seemed like a very short experience. And then I did, and I was like, oh, okay, cool. Like that's it. But I don't say that's it in that I don't feel like I got my money's worth, $6, whatever. That's like nothing. And the reviews are already overwhelmingly positive. And I understand why, because there's a lot of quality in the gameplay that you do get. And it's left open for more. There's sort of like a cliffhanger kind of deal at the end. I won't say what it is, but you're definitely it's leaving it open for an obvious like sequel or something, or an expansion or whatever they're going to do to it. And I think like the overwhelmingly positive reviews are very earned, just because of the quality of the package as a whole. And I appreciate that people are really like boosting it and promoting it as such, because this is a great example of a good thing coming in a small package. And people are, a lot of any kind of like negative feedback it's getting is more like, I just wish there was more to do, which is great. Like that's like positive negative feedback, or not even negative feedback, just like the only cons are like, just give me more of this. Like I want a more expansive world. Like give me more of this. Even the same bug universe with these same like PS1 or PS1 style graphics. It's like, I want to get more engrossed in it, because I could see even from what's already here that you could do so much more with this.
For a game dev, I feel like that's probably the best problem to have, is where the only complaints you're getting is, I want more of your game. I want more of the world you created. So that's pretty good. You're talking about the art, and like I was thinking too, like a lot of what I was reading was comparing the art and design of this to RuneScape, like the early RuneScape and everything.
Oh, sure.
Which I had to like go back and kind of look at some of that stuff, because I've only played RuneScape once, which was like that one time you and I went into RuneScape just for the giggles of it, because you and I had never experienced it. So we went in together.
Yeah.
And yeah, like I definitely see the comparisons and everything there, especially with like the texture design and everything. But like as far as like the animation and everything of the characters, the combat and stuff like that, I would say definitely a little bit different than that. And what's interesting too is like there is so much control that you as a player have with the settings of this game. So like you can really adjust like the kind of like the frame rate of the animation and stuff in the settings. So to make it like either smoother or choppier, which is kind of interesting.
I just left it on default. I didn't even know you could change anything.
Well, you can also completely change the visual style of the game to like, very specific, like almost like monochromatic sort of colors. So like almost like a black and white. There's like this one mode where it's almost all just like this deep blue kind of color. Like if you think about, I don't know. Did you ever play Return of the Obra Dinn?
No, but okay. I know what it looks like.
Okay. There are some of the modes in there almost remind me of that as far as like different things you can do. Now it doesn't go like total like 1-bit like Obra Dinn, but as far as like the color scheme where it's almost all like, singular or just two colors, you can do that in this game, which I think is very, very interesting. I wonder if some of it's supposed
to like imply like bug vision or something. Like I'll need to look through those settings. I'm just not sure.
I didn't think about that, but that makes a lot of sense. And I love that idea even more now. I don't know that when they label them, I don't know that they label them that way, but that actually makes so much more sense. And I think that's a really cool idea.
Yeah, I just couldn't see the reason why you would want to change like the color scheme like that, unless it's just an accessibility like color blindness thing. And then I get that aspect of it. But if it's a whole variety of things.
These definitely not. No, there might be some accessibilities in there, but yeah, I think it's just variety, just, for goofs. One thing, though, that they do have in there is an arachnophobia mode, which is really interesting, where what it does is if you toggle that on, it changes. I read that there's not very many spiders in the game, but when there are spiders in the game, it removes some of the legs and the eyes, so they don't look as much like spiders.
So then they're just like the insects instead of arachnids. Yeah. Okay, interesting.
Yeah, isn't that weird?
I have seen a lot of games like really embracing that arachnophobia thing, which I like spiders, so it's like. It's fine for me, but I understand some people like really have a thing about it. So I think it's nice for accessibility purposes that they do offer that up.
I've never seen that before in a game, like never heard of that before. And I think that's extremely interesting. And then I think of a game like Webbed, and I'm like, that game's got to be horribly triggering to people that have arachnophobia.
The game, what is it? Grounded has like obviously like for arachnophobes, like that's got to be like a huge thing. Awful. But it has, I believe, if I'm remembering right, it has an arachnophobia mode. I don't remember what it does to the spiders, if it just changes them into something else entirely. But I know it was in that game as well in some form.
Interesting.
Yeah,
that's interesting. Well, now I wonder if there's no way Webbed has something. You literally play as the spider. You're a spider. You're a skateboarding spider in that entire game. That concept is fantastic.
To like stringed or something. It's like, it's not webs. It's not a spider.
Turns you into
just a bug with the ball of string.
Yeah. It turns you into like Spider-Man instead.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Hey, back to this game, though. We were talking about combat and all that stuff before I went on this weird tangent about all the settings.
Yeah. So combat-wise, I mean, it's got like some nice variety of the way that the weapons work is you can see on the weapon like which ways you can sort of alter the swing. Like, can you go left to right or like up and down? And then like they'll do different things depending on the direction that you are moving and as you're swinging. So like there are some like narrow corridors where you're not going to really want to use a back and forth swing weapon because you're going to keep hitting the walls. So you need to pull out something that can have either a straight down or like a stab motion, just so you can navigate through those corridors, or at least fight your way through those corridors in an easier fashion. You do have stamina as you do in any Dark Soul or any like a Souls-like game, so you have to be mindful of that. The heavier the armor you're wearing, the slower that your stamina is going to charge back up, but also you'll take less damage. So it's like a trade-off there. So it's a very simplified version of what a lot of like, I'll just say Dark Souls games or Elden Ring offers as far as the armor goes. You don't have to really worry about like elements or anything. You have magic protection, and that's just a flat like magic protection period. Doesn't matter what kind of magic it is. It's just protecting you from all sorts of magic if you're wearing armor that specializes in that. and vice versa with the physical protection, same deal. It's not going to protect you as well from magic, but you're going to take less damage from physical swings. There is a lot of like limb attacks that you are able to do here. So you break their arms, legs, head, whatever. And if you break their head, because, you know, they're bugs and bugs don't always die when their head is removed, they'll live for a little while longer, but they will have kind of a bleed out motion. And the blood is green. So it's like, it's not like looking like blood.
Yeah.
But eventually they will just bleed out and die, but they will still attack you with complete accuracy, even without a head. So, you know, don't think you can just take an archer's head out and he's not going to shoot you dead on, because I learned my lesson the hard way a couple times trying to do that.
What would you do, like, if humans had that, like, if your head was removed and you knew, like, if you had full control of your body for, like, let's say, like, 5 more minutes, like, what do you think you would do?
Well, I mean, I was just going to say, like, the reason that we don't is because, like, our brain would be doing all that. But yeah, I don't know. If I'm about to die, I'd probably just lay down. What else am I going to do?
I don't know. Like, is there any, like, one last thing you would try to do just with your body?
No, because, like, it's not like I could eat anything or whatever unless you just cram food down my neck.
That's, I mean, yeah, like, obviously you can't really eat if it's just, you know, because you can't taste it. It wouldn't be that fun.
Yeah, it's just for sustenance at that point. And then why? Because you're about to bleed out.
You could do one more of your handstand push-ups to try to, like, I don't know.
No, that'll just accelerate the process. Unless that's what I'm trying to do, because then the blood's just going to pour out quicker.
That's true. Well, I mean, you know,
Gravity.
If you want to get it over with, that's
something. So sure, I'll do a handstand and then get it over with quicker. What a weird prompt.
You know what? I'm here asking the real question.
There's also fishing in this game, and it's a very simplified version of fishing. You throw it in, you something grabs, you just reel it in. It's not overly complicated, but what the fishing does is it gives you these different fish that offer different buffs for you, either like poison resistance or more attack power, et cetera, et cetera. You can only hold so many at a time, but if you continue catching them and your item slots are full, then it would just go to this barrel that's at the checkpoints. So that's kind of a cool little mechanic. I didn't really use the fish at all. I think I used a poison resistance one once just to like clear out my inventory, but it's not a necessity, but it is nice, I guess, if you want to use those. And then,
I was going to ask like how important they are. It seems like not super important, but
it would just also depend on your level of comfort with playing a game like this, because you know, I could see some of them being super helpful if you were having trouble in areas. I think like if you've played any Souls-like game and you're okay at them, like you'll get through this with no real issue. I died a couple times, but once you kind of learn the patterns of the enemies you're fighting, it's not a huge deal. There is co-op in this as well that I didn't try at all, but I think it's up to 4 players, which is crazy.
Yeah, it is.
I think it's a cool idea that you could just play with 3 of your friends and go through this whole game literally in 3 hours. So I don't know, give it a shot if you want to. I really enjoyed it. I think that I am also excited about like what is to come. I'm curious about that sorceress game. I'm probably going to add that to my wish list just to keep an eye on it. But definitely want to see more from this team and more from this FlyKnight universe.
Yeah, I'm really interested to know if he is planning to create like a follow-up to it based on the overwhelming feedback he's getting from this. Because, like, I don't know, if it were me, I would see that as, like, a very open path of, like, okay, obviously, you know, I'm going to finish the thing I'm working on, but, like, if this is getting that much attention, that was, you know, is somewhere I would want to shift some of my focus. But then again, like, he is really hard at work on this other game, Sorceress, which, like, if you look at it, has some very similar, I don't know, it seems like some similar mechanics, very similar visual style, obviously not bugs, so difference there. But it, you know, seems to be first person, you know, medieval-ish magic kind of stuff, but also maybe guns too. It reminds
me loosely of a game called Hexen that I played a long time ago.
Yeah, I know what Hexen is. Yes.
Yeah, that's essentially like Wizard Quake or Wizard Doom.
Yes.
Yeah, I would say Quake because it is like I think it's multiplayer. Actually, I don't know. But yeah, it's a Wizard-esque first-person shooter, and as I'm seeing all these spells being flung around in Sorceress, like that's what came to mind.
Sure. Yeah. So I'm interested to see how that game does in comparison once that releases.
I think this is going to do, just from looking at it, like the combat looks almost identical, just with a lot more, a lot more items, probably a much more fleshed out world. And now that you're adding a lot of spells, there are spells in FlyKnight as well, not very many. And I found myself using them every once in a while. You could probably have like a spell build or something. I don't know, but like this one is more focused on that. So I'm curious to see like what kind of like unique spells they do have. So I think this will be like a bigger, grander version of what FlyKnight is, but obviously set in a different universe. But even then, like the way that every Dark Souls game or Elden Ring even plays very similarly combat wise makes me think that they could really have their own sort of spin-off here, almost like Kingsfield likes, where this studio Woboboy focuses on that specifically and it just has this same sort of combat mechanics in different universes of sorts. I do want them to expand on the FlyKnight universe as well. I'm sure they'll expand on Sorceress if this does well enough, which I bet it will. And then we'll see what else they can offer up. I had a lot of fun with FlyKnight, and that was only a 3-hour experience and just left me wanting more.
Yeah. And he obviously, turned FlyKnight out in like about a year's time. So it's like, imagine the other stuff that he can do based on that. So
yeah, especially like the more he continues building up on that same formula, the faster he presumably will be able to like get new products out and maybe like build upon an already solid foundation.
Exactly. Good job, Woboboy. We're proud of you.
Great work.
I choose you, Woboboy. I don't know. I'm making another Pokemon joke.
Yeah.
Combo.
Let's talk about what other games we've been playing this week. I played a game called Your House. This released on the 27th of this month. This is interesting. And this is where like there are, how do I say this? In that way that sometimes you are like, this isn't a game. I don't want to say that about this game, but in that way where visual novels are sometimes a lot more on the novel side than having gameplay mechanics. This is very much one of those experiences.
The moment you say experiences, that's when I'm like, this is not a me game. Go on.
Well, it's definitely not a you game. It's definitely not a you game.
I read reading an actual story, which is like, okay.
But here's the thing. This sounds like I'm trying to like soften a blow or something like that, but I'm really not. I'm trying to, in my head, like kind of make this distinction because I feel like there's always this like strange line of like, visual novels versus like are they games and stuff, and like to me I always think of like, yeah, visual novels are games. It's just like a totally different kind of game. But like when I get to something like this, which leans way more closer into being a novel than a typical like visual novel. So like for this game, when you think of a visual novel, there's usually a lot of connotations or like, I don't know, there's like sort of an archetype that goes along with that of like making choices, having like characters kind of pop up on the screen. You see some dialogue and stuff. I think that that's probably the more prevalent type of visual novel. That's really not what this is. In this game, it looks more like you're staring, like you're looking at a page of like a novel. You're actually like reading some of it. And like there are like words that might be bolded or something within it. And you click on that. And depending on like what you click on, something might happen, like a specific passage within the greater piece that you're reading might change. Or you might like get farther into this story, like this one specific, Your House. We get to a point, and this is so hard to explain, man. I'm trying so hard, but this is very, very tough to explain.
It's a puzzle game where you read books.
Yeah, basically.
I get it.
So like you get to a point where like you as this character, you're having a terrible day, but you received a postcard with some images on it, and you received a key, and you don't know what that key is to. but you're kind of like following the lead of like this postcard, even though there's no like return address on it, but there's like some clues and stuff, right? And you grab like a backpack full of stuff and you go and you're trying to figure out like the mystery of this whole thing. There are like different things where like you can click on the word open, it will open your inventory, but it's not like a UI where you're clicking open. It's literally you're clicking on the word open within the passage of this story, and that will open your stuff, which is really interesting. And it sounds convoluted, and it makes a lot more sense like when you're looking at it than how I'm describing it. But there are also like some actual like gameplay elements to it. Like there's some timed things where like there's this one part where I needed to sneak by a security guard. And even though that is still done through text and everything, like I had to get like a timing down and everything for it. So I think that that's actually like really interesting. I had to like discover clues that were hidden within that postcard to decipher like a code that I needed to get into this apartment complex. You know, there's like a bunch of things like that. But like you, for the most part, are reading, you know, actual words on like a digital page, like you would be reading a Kindle or something like that, like an ebook. So with that said, it is very much a different experience than I was used to. Like I didn't expect it to be like this. I was expecting more kind of like, I don't know, like maybe Golden Idol-ish sort of puzzle or something. But that's because I went into this thing completely blind. I didn't want to, you know, spoil anything. But it was really interesting. I think to me, that means like this kind of game, this kind of experience, I would recommend for more gamers that are specifically bookworms. Like if you are a gamer who loves to read, then I would recommend this to you because I think that this is incredibly niche, more niche than like most stuff that I've played and most stuff that like I review. But it's really, really interesting and it's just such a cool idea. And it sent me down this rabbit hole of like checking out what else this developer has done. And almost everything they've done is this kind of like game or visual novel style. They've got like 3 other ones I saw. There's Unmemory that released on October 2020, Delete After Reading, which was March of 2023, and then Pineapple, which was September 2024. So that one wasn't even released that long ago. All of these are under $10 each. Like 2 of them, I think, were less than $5. So like they're inexpensive. If you like reading, then I think that you'll really enjoy this. If you are, you know, just a straight up gamer and don't want to read, then I don't think you're going to have a good time.
No like words. Me want to smash things.
Joseph no like. I think that this is something, and I didn't look to see if these are available like mobile or something like that. I think if they're not available mobile, I feel like they're really missing a good opportunity because I think that this is something that like specifically mobile, this would do really, really well. So I need to check into that and see, because this is like one of those things that I would do at night, like when I'm in bed getting ready to go to sleep or something.
Another one of those like visually beautiful games.
It really
is. It is absolutely like I don't know. It's a joy to see the art in this game. I like looking at it, but alas, it is not one that I will play, for it is outside of my realm of interest.
It doesn't have any blood or guts.
Yeah, so it needs one or the other, or some sort of, I just need an RPG mechanic, something. But if it's just about reading, then I know it's like, yeah, got to cross it off my list.
Yeah. It's very creative though. And like, I have to give them credit because I think it's really cool. And also just from a development standpoint of just like, thinking about how this game was created and, produced and everything. I think it's ingenious. So I got to give kudos to the developers for that. I think it's very, very smart. But yes, it is also incredibly niche because of that. So what about you? What did you play?
So I will talk more about Metalbringer, which I brought to the show last week because the moment that we stopped recording, I did another run and I finally beat it. Like in such a way where it was like it trivialized everything. I just had I got like the perfect kind of RNG sort of like grouping of everything that I don't know. Everything just kind of came together in such a way where I was just like stomping over every single thing, including, I mean, the last boss on your, and the first time you beat it is just like very trivial. He's like nothing, but then you have to beat it. That's the bad ending. And then you have to beat it again. And that is where I am still a little bit stuck because I have not come upon the same sort of like, I don't know, perfect RNG that I got that other run. I reached the final boss once, and you have to fight through a gauntlet of like sub bosses first, like at least 3 or 4 of them. And by the time I got to this last boss, my mech was already so broken. By the way, this, for anyone who didn't listen to last episode, this is an action roguelike game where you are like a customizable mech, and it has like voxel art with a pixel filter over it, just for anybody who didn't listen. So that's what this is. It's a cutesy style. So by the time I got to that final boss, my mech was already so broken that I think he hit me once and my mech was broken. And then that's when you or your little dude jumps out, your labor, which is what the little robots are called that are driving the mechs. And there's just no way I could beat that thing. I survived as long as I could as just the little robot boy, but the boss ended up just crushing me. And I was like, okay, so now I see that part of it is just being able to sustain yourself through all those fights. I think that if I had been able to come in full health or whatever, full like repair, then that would have been a different story. But by the time I got to him, it was just like the wearing me down in such a way through all those bosses that the last boss was maybe harder than he should have been had I come in with full health. So that's something I'm gonna have to work on, or see if I can get some kind of auto repair in there that kind of alleviates some of that. But still think it's a really fun game, very challenging up front. But once you like get like a really sort of broken combo of stuff, or you are able to level up your stats enough, it can turn from very challenging to very trivial, as my first run did. But I think even then, your final run is going to be at least fairly balanced and challenging once you make it to that final boss, because everything does become a little bit harder, or maybe a lot harder once you beat it once. So yeah, that's where I am with that. I also played Shadows of Wyrmwood, that demo that you had played, that you were like, you couldn't beat that one part because it felt really unfair. So I had to try it out to see, and I was able to get through the whole thing, like 6 different levels of it, whatever the demo had to offer anyway. Yeah. And I think you're right about it being imbalanced in a way, but I wouldn't even call it imbalanced as much as it is like, you really have to be aware of, if you're going to fight an elite enemy, do you have the proper defenses to withstand whatever it's going to throw at you? Because I did face that when you were talking about that, just like hit you so many times per turn that you have no choice but to keep healing, and therefore cannot attack him back. And even then, he's slowly whittling you down, even if you're trying to overheal. So that is because I did not go in with the right amount of like physical defense. And so that's where it's like, you have to really pay attention to that. It tells you like on the little icon what kind of damage it's going to be doing, so you can be semi-prepared going into it, RNG willing. But the run that I did beat was like, I just swept through it because I just really powered up my ice powers. And by the time I got to like the later levels, it was just like everything was dying in like one turn. I had no fear of death at all. So if it is imbalanced, then that pendulum swings both ways, and you can also like break the game, quote unquote, and become very powerful yourself.
Yeah, and there is a video of you on that run up on our YouTube where it's a no commentary run. So if you want to watch Joseph go through it and decimate that dragon, you can watch it.
Did you end up watching it?
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah. Like that's what I'm talking. Like it was just such a smooth
go in there
run
and like one shot this thing.
Yeah, but I really liked it. Like, it's got those N64 graphics that I appreciated.
Exactly. I love that.
And I love the amount of customization that's there. Like, you can really specify the type of run you want. And I would recommend that too. I think that is very important, is like, if you're gonna go into anything, don't try to be like a jack of all trades, because you will suffer for it. Focus on whatever you want to and make sure that that is what you're trying to buy item wise and everything. Like I said, for me, I did ice powers and that really paid off. But there's all kinds of different abilities. You can go completely like sword, axe, I think bow and arrow, I can't remember, archery, and then or some sort of spell powers. And I think like the variety there was really cool. I'm very excited about the actual game to come out to see how it expands on the demo and what the real like in game looks like.
Yeah, I'm just hoping that there's a few tweaks and stuff there to try to mitigate the amount that pendulum can swing either way.
Sure.
Like one, so that you don't feel like you have to shoehorn into like, if I start a run, then like I can only equip gear with like this one specific thing. And if I don't get those things, then I know I'm not going to win, this run, and that run's going to be moot, Then, I think that's an issue.
There is some like self-mitigation there that you can do. For instance, like even though I went all ice and I was fortunate enough to keep running across like ice boosting items, I could have also had like my secondary spell be something like, I don't know, fire or like death magic or whatever, because you will also run across items that like super boost other things. And so there's a chance I could have pivoted if I wanted to. And as you're running into like, the blue rare items or elite epic, like purple items and whatnot, they will boost it in such a way where you're like, oh, okay, let me drop ice altogether and just go full like blood build, because like this is a super powerful blood item that I want to use. So I think there is the capability of doing that. I don't know that it's explained. I don't know that anything's really explained as you're going through. You get like a small tutorial at the beginning. Maybe in the full release, they'll have more of like a like a better like lead in to what would work for you or how you're supposed to play the game. But it was also kind of fun for me to kind of learn as I went, just being the person that I am. And I enjoyed that process of like, okay, I'm figuring this out. Now I kind of get what I need to do. It took me, I think, 2 or 3 runs total. One of my runs that was going well just bugged out. And that's maybe just because it was still in kind of a beta. What happened was like I had a defensive spell that just was not working. It kept like attacking. And I'm like, no, I'm not trying. I'm trying to shield myself. And then I died. And as I died from that, the game just crashed. So I was like, okay, so I think that was just like bugged right there.
Yeah.
So, but that only happened once, even in the demo. So I don't think it's going to be like a super common thing, but something to be aware of is like,
it's demos, Yeah. It happens.
But again, Shadows of Wyrmwood, give that a shot, because I think it is a really like cool game and cool concept, especially if you have any kind of affinity for the N64 graphics or games themselves.
Yeah, that's like one of my favorite parts about it is how it looks. So I'm pretty excited to see what the full release is going to look like. So I'm hoping we'll hear a release date on that soon. Final round. So as far as any titles on our radar wish list or play calendar, there are 2 that I wanted to bring up real quick. One is Oddventure, which comes out on April 3rd. This is a JRPG that has a vibe between, like somewhere between Earthbound and Undertale, with maybe a little Omori thrown in there too. This is about a girl named Charlie that's looking for her lost brother in a cursed fairy tale world. And from what I understand, the combat mechanics are mood-based. I don't know what that means, but I like the sound of it. I'm intrigued. Looking at like all the gameplay and everything that is available so far, looks very humorous, but it does seem like there's also like this sense of a more serious, heartfelt story underneath it, which is like the best kind of game, right? I mean, let's be honest. And it also says that choices matter in very unpredictable ways, and that every choice will matter in that way. So I'm really excited to see exactly what all it means and see how it goes. I love the look of it. Like the art is really, really good. It does look very funny. I don't know if you've taken a look at it, but you see that little gnome there. Kind of reminds me of the little gnome guy. Kind of reminds me of for whatever reason, Gravity Falls a little bit. Maybe because they had that gnome in like that first episode, throwing up rainbows and stuff. But yeah, it looks fun. It looks like a cute little JRPG,
like a blend, a feel of like Earthbound combined with Dragon Quest as far as combat goes. At least the Dragon Quest combat where it's like you just see the enemy like straight in front of you. And even though in Dragon Quest like you don't see their backs, in this game you at least see the backs of the characters. So it's almost like a first person perspective a little bit. But I could definitely see the Earthbound in there and the Dragon Quest blend, and I'm sure a ton of other references, but looks cool.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited for this. That one's been on my wish list for several months, so I'm
early
happy to see
access is what it's coming out in. So that's where it's like I'll put on my wish list for full release. That's I'll wait.
We'll see how it goes. The other one I want to bring up is called Slimekeep. This comes out on April 7th. This is a roguelike twin stick shooter where you kill and capture various slimes. The developer describes this as Enter the Gungeon meets Slime Rancher, which sounds pretty interesting. There's lots of weapons, upgrades. There's 5 bosses. Looks like there might be some mini games in there. And then you gotta fight the Slime King at the end. Take out that Slime King. What drew me in is the art. It looks like an old Game Boy kind of style. Everything's green. Small pixel art and everything. Plus, it's a roguelike, so it just looks like a lot of fun. Man. It doesn't look like it'll be a long game. So I'm assuming small price point on it, but we'll see how it shakes out.
Yeah, like it's Game Boy graphics, but simplified to the extent that it's almost like Tamagotchi graphics.
Yeah,
like it is very, very simplified, but looks interesting. I mean, Slime King, another Dragon Quest reference. So I wanted to bring Rogueloops to the table here. Another action roguelike, because that is just kind of the pit that I've fallen into as far as games that are coming out.
Right.
But it's a fun pit. I enjoy being in here. This one, so the unique thing that stands out about this is for every buff you choose, you also have to choose a curse, which increases the challenge of the run. So it's not like you're getting any kind of like, I don't know, pure good thing. You have to balance the power you're acquiring with the added challenge to the game itself. And I think that is conceptually interesting, because it's like you're going to have to pick and choose, like is this going to be powerful enough to overcome whatever kind of curse I have put on myself by trying to do this. And then the way that it plays just seems very similar to a lot of other roguelikes. So I wouldn't say that much stands out there, but I'm very curious to see how the mechanics of the curse / blessing or buff balance works out. It almost graphically, it kind of reminds me, what is that one called? It's like the fairy tale kind of action roguelike. Raven's Watch. That's what it reminds me of graphically.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but it just like graphically, like think about that. Think about Raven's Watch, and that's sort of what it looks like visually. But obviously, the gameplay is going to be much different.
Okay. Yeah, it looks really good, actually.
And that comes out April 4th, if I didn't say that already.
Yeah.
Which is...
all these are just a few days away, honestly.
Yeah.
This month went by really fast.
Yeah, March really did fly by. But April's going to be a good month, I think.
There's lots of really good games coming in April. And speaking of good things, it'd be a really good thing if you did us a favor and shared this episode with someone who loves indie games. As always, I'd say, as always, you can watch me playing some of the games we discussed. But like, I didn't play any of the ones we discussed in this episode. Sorry about that. There's a reason. I'll explain that in the next episode, which you'll get one as soon as Friday. Listen on Friday. But you can watch me play other Let's Play stuff over at our YouTube channel, youtube.com/nerdsloth. You can also catch hundreds of hours of bonus content for $1 a month by subscribing to the Nerdsloth Treehouse at our Patreon, patreon.com/nerdsloth. We also have our podcast there called the Nerdsloth Podcast for those at the $5 tier. And at our website, nerdsloth.com, you can get a link to our Discord server and our merch store. You can also join our subreddit for Indie Game Arcade, help us post some reviews of indie games, so more folks can find games that suit their indie gameplay style.
Game over!
That's game over for us. My name's Chris.
I'm Joseph.
And we'll continue on the next episode on Friday.
Continue. Indie Game Arcade is recorded and produced by Sloth Creative. If you're looking for more gaming content, head over to youtube.com/nerdsloth. For additional podcasts, go to nerdsloth.com. If you'd like to support the show, there are multiple tiers available at patreon.com/nerdsloth, with hundreds of hours of bonus content from everything we do at Sloth Creative, including bonus gameplay videos of the games we talk about on the show. The theme music for the show is Retro Game Tapes by Audio Lime. If you'd like to get in touch with us, or if you're an indie game developer and would like us to consider reviewing your game, send us an email to podcasts@nerdsloth.com with the subject line Indie Game Arcade.